All right. Good morning, guys. So I just want to say one thing. I've had a couple people saying something about, oh, the lighting's off, da 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 da. You should get the cameras, you should get the lights, blah 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 blah. I'm new to this, and honestly, I'm coming out of an addiction. I'm coming out of prison, and I want to know what addict comes back into the world with a brand new GoPro and brand new lighting. Like, get real. This is me starting out, so my lighting's gonna be how it is, my video's gonna be how it is, and it doesn't really matter because it's not what's the way the video looks that's important. What's important is what's inside my video. And, I have a message that I'm trying to get across to people. And I actually had a different message that I wanted to share. And then, so I was on my little Baycare thing trying to look at a recent hospital visit that I had went into. And I ended up finding a portal to all my ever hospital visits. And they go back all the way to when I was 18. So that's actually how my topic actually ended up changing for today. In 2010, 2011, I was in a really, really abusive relationship. And in 2010 and 11, I had 16 hospital visits in 2010 and 11 in 2011. And I don't remember any of these hospital visits. This was when I started taking Xanax, the very beginning of my addiction. And I started taking them because I was in a very abusive relationship. And the more I took, the less I knew what was going on, the less I could remember. And that's kind of the topic that I want to get into today. Not everybody knows how they end up as an addict. And honestly, I still don't 100% know how I ended up in the situation that I did. I just know how I'm getting out of that situation. So, in those hospital visits, I went in and I looked up at every single one of them. And it was like a horror story, from fractured ribs to head injuries to broken shoulder, broken hip, things that happened to me that I don't even remember. And in some of them, there was stress reaction, anxiety, stuff like that. Yeah, well, when you're in an abusive relationship, that's gonna happen. In 2009, I actually got in that relationship. So this guy, I dated him when I was in middle school. And he was a grade below me, so when I started going to high school, I broke up with him because I was like, well, I'm never going to see him. It's better for him to do his thing and I'm going to do mine. After high school, I moved into what was known as the Hollywood House. It was on Hollywood Drive, and it was 4 bedrooms and a Florida room and a pool and like what we called the morgue, which was just a random room off the side of the house with these random prison-like bunk bed things attached to the wall. So that became my party house, and I was 18. At one of these parties, we had different nights. It wasn't always about drinking. We had game night, we had movie night, we had pool day. Like, we had it going. We had a bunch of people that would always go there. It was like every night, and that's when my addiction kind of slowed down from what I was doing, because I was coming out of another relationship and I was just drinking nonstop. So I was just kind of drinking a little bit at this time just to, hang out with people, and people started loving me, and I finally got that like attention, yay, that I was looking for. Everybody wanted to know me. Everybody wanted to be around me. Everybody liked me. And I was just so ecstatic. So I made sure to have that party every single night. or something going on every single night. At one of these parties was actually when that guy walked in the door, and I remember being like, damn, is that Chris? Holy crap. Like, and seeing him was like, it brought me back to middle school. So he ended up actually staying over that night, trying to sleep with me. Got frustrated because I wouldn't sleep with him, Left in the morning, and I was like, so that's it, bye. I should have known right then and there that there was, like, going to be something wrong with the relationship, but, he ended up calling me later, coming to more parties. We ended up actually getting together, and off rip, it was a horrible relationship. I remember I didn't want to sleep with him, and he was like, well, if you don't want to sleep with me, then you don't love me. So I was like, fine, I'll sleep with you. So I did. He had all these other girls messaging him. He had he had a very outgoing personality, more outgoing than I was. And he had a huge following of friends. And those people really ended up hating me because they thought that I was just this awful person, because the way he described me and the person I actually was two different things, All these people started hating me that didn't even know me. They just are taking the word of somebody else and what somebody else has to say about you. And that doesn't make you who you are, by the way. That doesn't mean that you are scum just because this person has all these people convinced that you're scum. You know yourself better than that. And I should have known myself better than that because I wasn't scum. I was a good-ass girlfriend who was being pushed around. He was doing things sexually to me that hurt me, making me cry my eyes out. And it was like gratifying to him. Then he would, he started being abusive. I remember one night he broke my jaw because he misread a text message that was about my ex saying, I bet you miss him, to one of my friends. And he thought it said, I sure do miss him. So he broke my jaw until he seen that the message was wrong. And then he tried to apologize and whatever. And I remember my best friend, Blake, was outside crying for me. He was crying and he was like, what are you doing to yourself? What are you doing? And I'm crying, this is like my best friend. And he was trying to reach out, like, get out of here. Get out before it's too late. And it got too late, it got very too late. And I started drowning myself in Xanax. This was the only way I could forget. And my addiction just took off. It took off hard. It went from what I told you in the last video of, just taking a Valium because you felt like you were drunk or whatever they were saying, to now I'm full-blown taking Xanax every single night, and I couldn't stop. And the abuse got worse. I remember, trying to leave. I remember trying to get out of the house one night, and he barricaded both doors. I would try to go out the one door. He would run around the house. I tried to get out the other door. He would run back to that side. He held a knife up to my throat one day. He would threaten to kidnap my brother and sisters from the bus stop if I left him. And if anybody knows me towards my family, especially when I was younger, no, you're not going to fuck with my family. So I stayed in that relationship in fear that he was going to do something to my family. In fear that, if I didn't take that, somebody else was going to get it. Finally, one day, I don't know where he was. He was gone somewhere. And I ended up getting the balls to get the fuck out of there. And for 2 weeks, I was at my dad's. He was sending the harassing text messages. Eventually, he finally stopped and started doing the, baby, I'm sorry. Just come back. The same things he used to do that I would be like, okay, I'll come back. Just, I won't hit you anymore. I swear I'm going to change. Everything's going to be better. And I knew by this point, it was 3 years down the road of abuse, that it wasn't going to change. So one night, he was like, just let me come over and talk to you. So I did. We sat outside my house because I was too afraid. He actually moved in 4 houses down from me and would stalk me from the window. Where are you going? What are you doing? Really crazy shit. But we sat outside, and like, I remember we were just talking, and he was like, I really wish I could take back some of the shit I did. And I remember looking up, and there was a shooting star, and we both seen it. And I remember making a wish right then that, like, please God, just give me the courage to get out of this relationship. And the next day, he was like, so you want to be with me? And I was like, yeah, we'll be together. But God made that wish come true, because I didn't text him again. And I didn't call him again. And I didn't answer when he would call me. So I finally was able to get out of it. But unfortunately, the damage at that point was done, Now I was taking Xanax all the time, trying to forget what was going on. And, hold on one second. Sorry, my wonderful understanding about my addiction boyfriend came outside, asking me what I was doing, when you know what I was doing. He's just, whatever. Anyway, so, like I said, the damage had already been done. There was nothing that I could do. I should have got some sort of counseling at the time, but, I was still young, I'm 21. After that, I ended up getting in a relationship. Actually, it was with my sister's ex. And I regretted that, because I was so far in my addiction that I was taking Xanax, and like, he was helping me get Xanax. So I ended up stealing something that was like a family like heirloom or something from his house. And he was like, we had just Baker acted him for his, he had like an alcohol problem. And he was Baker acted for like 30 days. Like, he gets out and he's doing good, And, he wasn't a bad guy, and I ended up stealing this heirloom, and his family came down really hard on him. And I remember at this point, I started not just doing Xanax, but like, I had this, other addiction that I was doing. And, I was on pills, like Roxy's. I was taking Roxy's, and this guy, he really cared a lot about me, and he called me one day, and I was sitting with this guy, Brandon, and, we had just gotten drugs, and we were about to do them. We just got Roxy's, and he's sitting in the corner teasing me, and he's like, I'm gonna do them without you, I'm gonna do them without you. And Pat was the guy's name. He calls me, and he's like, hey, and I was like, hey, what's up? Like, trying to do this. And he's like, I just wanted to call you and tell you that I love you. And I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, I'm just letting you know, like, I'm gonna kill myself. And after hearing that from the relationship with Chris for so long, like, you don't even believe it anymore. You're just like, whatever. So instead of being like, no, don't do that, I was like, you know what, you're stupid. You're just being fucking stupid. And he was like, well, I just wanted to call you and tell you that I love you. And the last thing I heard on that phone call was tires, and then the phone clicking off. And I remember panicking and calling his mom. And she's like, we're looking for him. But it was too late, and he ended up running in front of a car, a truck, I believe, on 19 in Nebraska. And he died. And I feel like every day I've dealt with the grief from that relationship. When it happened, for years, I would have nightmares about being with him and a car coming and me pushing him out of the way. And I would see the car hit me, and I would see it hit every piece of my body, and watch the windshield crack. Or I would be trying to talk to him, and I would be like, well, how are you talking to me, Pat? You're dead. And he's like, no, I was just faking it. Or there'd be some sort of like white noise where he was like, I just want you to know I love you. I love you. And it was just horrible. Like, these dreams were horrible. And my sister Jade never really forgave me for what happened. She doesn't really know. She doesn't know the grief that it puts in me. Because I thought I could stop him. For the longest time, I thought I could stop him. And my sister hating me for years after that, because that was her best friend. That was one of her loves. And I had no business even being in that relationship. But honestly, he was doing all this stuff for me that it was just like, whatever. I disregarded, my family and everything that I ever felt. But I tell you one thing, I never did that again. I've never went around any of my sister's exes or boyfriends or anything like that ever. Because of this one time, somebody's life got taken. I've had people that I've dated that were awful, that have told me, I'm the devil, I'm this, I'm that. I remember even my sister one time when we were fighting, being like, you're the reason he's dead. And I really felt that for a really long time. I think some part of me still feels that. My main point in this video was to explain about relationships and abuse and things that key into people's addiction. People don't just become addicts because we want to be. There's things that make us addicts. Some of us don't have a choice. Some of us didn't have the childhood that you had. Some of us didn't have two parents that were just happy and together and could do all the things that we wanted. Some of us didn't get the same cards dealt to us. And no, that doesn't mean go out and be an addict, but sometimes that shit happens. And if you're in an abusive relationship, you need to get out. Get the fuck out before you ever end up in a situation like I'm in, where years down the line, you're still trying to control an addiction, trying to make sure that you don't go out and do something stupid, trying to do anything you can to keep your mind occupied, to keep yourself busy, because every day is one wrong step can mean the end of your life. You guys don't have to understand why somebody is an addict. You guys don't have to understand anything, but understand that some people can't help it. I couldn't help it. There's some things that happen to me in life that I still can't even talk about. Things that shouldn't happen. Things that shouldn't happen as a kid. And I dealt with it the best way that I knew how. And I pray for anybody that's in any type of abusive relationship, or anybody that's ever had to deal with a suicide, or anybody that has anything going on. My main thing is, if you need some form of counseling, please go get counseling, because I'm trying to go get counseling. I am 3 years sober now, trying to now seek out counseling, because recently an argument with my boyfriend has stirred up so much pain and emotion that was locked away in my brain that I didn't even know was there. I didn't know any of it was there. And then one little fight triggered so much that I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning from nightmares, drenched in sweat. You might need counseling. It's not a bad thing. It's going to keep you sober. It's going to keep you from going out and doing stupid stuff. And one thing that I'm going to tell you, you might not agree with NA. You might not agree with all the people. You might not get along with all the people. But there's going to be somebody there, somebody that can reach out, that you can reach out to. Somebody that can help you in any type of network that can get you out and get you focused on anything but yourself. Start focusing on other people. Focus on who you can help instead of, I need help. Because we all fucking need help. It's not about just you. It's about all of us together, working together to try to stay sober. Like I said, I'm not at NA all the time. My sponsor gets on me every single day. Every day. Like, I get a message from her every morning. Like, hey, good morning. Why aren't you at a meeting? Hey, good morning. Why haven't you called me? Sorry, Lori. But, you know, they want to help you. And I want to help you. And that's the reason I'm doing any of these videos, is because nobody knows me. Nobody knows who I am inside. Nobody knows what made me who I am today. But I'm a good person. And I'm going to be a good person. And I'm not going to let the people around me dictate who I become anymore. And if I can get a message out to somebody that you're not alone in the abuse, and you're not alone in the addiction, and you're not alone in whatever you're going through, because I'm there. Just remember that. Reach out to somebody. Because one day, you know, this story could help somebody, and I don't know who, but somebody might need to hear it. Thank you.